Hey guys, got a good review for you this time. This one is Hanamikoji, the Hanamikoji, Hinimad. I'll get it eventually. Hang on. Hanima. Hanima distinctly minty alpha. Hey guys, forgive my mispronunciation of any Japanese term, but here's a review for Hanamikoji. Yeah, right, I got it right now. I may repeat this name and I may get it wrong during the review. Sorry in advance. But this game is not a newish one. It's been out for a good few years now, I think. In fact, I think its first publication date was 2013, so we're talking an oldish game, but it's been quite hard to find a copy. It was mostly overseas. Then I think recently it got like more buzz in the US and UK markets, and now we've got like a recent set of it. But yeah, you kind of need to grab this one when you can because it's not always easy to find. But what on earth is it? All I heard about this was pretty much Sam Healey raving about it on the Dice Tower. It was one of those sort of micro small games that even he could get behind. And if you pay attention to the Dice Tower show, you know that Sam is not a big fan of micro games in general. Now this one is kind of that borderline between micro and small game. I mean, you can be done and dusted with this in about 10 to 15 minutes. And it's, say, small box. I would call this a micro game. I mean, let's face it, Love Letter Premium comes in a much bigger box now, and the original Love Letter, a very small bag, so smaller than this, but how long does Love Letter take you? About 10 to 15 minutes at least to fill out, 4 hearts. So I would call this a micro game, really. But enough on definitions. What this is a quick 2-player card game where you are trying to win favor over these geishas. Now, geishas, as far as I'm aware, I'm not an expert, but they are women of the arts, as they are sometimes referred to as in Japan, who basically specialize in a particular form of art. It could be anything from tea making to fashion, music, poetry, whatever. 2 of my friends have been lucky enough to actually visit Japan and see these geishas up close. But the idea with Hanamikoji, see, I have to keep looking at the title just to get it right, is it's a street. It's a famous street in Japan where these geishas generally are found, or certainly a large collective of them. So in this, when I say you're trying to win favor over them, basically it's a tug-of-war card game between you and your opponent. Each of you has 4 action tiles, and each round you will perform these 4 actions in any order you see, but you must perform all 4. You can't do any twice and you can't leave any out. One of them may be to put a card underneath to score later. One might be to place some cards in a pile, 2 piles of 2. Your opponent takes 1 pile, you take the other. So these actions are basically putting cards down or trading them with your opponents. And what you're trying to do is collect as many item cards for a particular geisha as you can. Each one is numbered 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of charm points, and that also dictates how many item cards each geisha has. So only 2 cards for a 2 value geisha, 5 cards for a 5 value geisha. And when the round finishes, you look at how many cards are on your opponent's side and how much is on yours, and you mark with tokens who has favor of what geisha. Whoever manages to win favor with 4 geishas first, or collect 11 charm points worth of geishas, so you might have only got 3 geishas, but you've got the 5, 4 and a 2, that's 11 charm points, you win the game then. First person to do that wins, and typically I find that it says a 15-minute timer, pretty accurate, because typically within about 2 to 3 rounds, somebody should have hit that target. It can be as short as 1 round if somebody makes a critical error, but very rarely do I see this go to 4 or 5 rounds. It may do if you've got 2 very experienced players on this, but typically 2 to 3 rounds, there will be a winner of some description. Now that may not sound like much, But this is a really cool card game. First off, let's talk about some of the plus points. Like I said, 15 minutes. This is a very short, quick game. Like I say, it is borderline micro to small. I could call this micro game though, for being essentially 15 minutes, maybe less. Because the rulebook is barely, like 3 to 4 small pages of writing. And it's so easy to learn. Literally, I was done with the rulebook in about 1 to 2 minutes. It really isn't a difficult game to learn. The icons themselves are intuitive to remind you what each action does. And the geishas themselves, are just, they've got the number, and the item cards, you just need to know the number of them as well. Aside from that, it's all pretty artwork. And, well, we'll get onto that later. But this game literally takes about a couple of minutes to teach, and about 15 or so minutes to play. It is simple, and it is short. Definitely a quality that you need in any good micro game. I mentioned the artwork. Artwork is gorgeous. Now, I have seen better artwork in other games, but that's more of a subjective style thing. Nobody can deny that this game, both from the cover and from the geisha cards inside, looks lovely. It is a very beautiful game. The geishas are on tarot size, like Dixit size cards, and each one is vibrant and colourful. The item cards, there's no differentiation within each geisha set, but the item cards are all different. One is a flute, one is a little lute thing, another one is a teapot or something. And, again, they match the colours and they're beautiful to look at as well. Granted, if you are a left-handed player, you might have to get used to the fact that the numbers are on the left-hand side of the card only. I know I've heard some left-handed players complain about that, but like I say, it doesn't bother me because I'm right-handed, but that might be a small gripe for some of you out there. But the tug-of-war system is where this really shines, because those 4 actions lead to some really tough decisions. It sounds simple, just perform the 4 actions, there you go. But you've only got 6 cards to begin the game with. You have limited information, but you have some information. And some of it is push your luck as you're trying to decide what order to do these actions in. Because remember, one of them will score a card from your hand, so you're going to get this card. It could swing favour with the geisha, you never know. Do you score it now though, or do you wait till later? Because if you wait too long, you might literally be drawing the top card of the deck and that's the only one you can score. Another action is to get rid of 2 cards out of the round totally. Do you do that first, thinking that it's going to make a difference? Or do you leave that for too long? Problem is, you might end up getting rid of 2 cards you wish you had, but you've got no choice. And then the other ones, the gift and the competition, they've all got specific names. But the third action is you put 3 cards down, opponent chooses 1, you get 2. The fourth one is you put 2 piles of 2 down, opponent takes 1 pile, you take the other. So it's got that really cool I choose you pick, I think it's called, or I pick you choose, whatever, mechanic, and it's proving to be very popular in games at the moment. A lot of people really like it, and it works very well in this one too. Because you got to think, I got to get rid of 4 cards here, but how do I put them in the piles? What do I not mind my opponent getting? What do I really want? And there's a little element of bluffing in this, because you may put down 2 piles of cards or 3 cards, and your opponent's there going, why has he put those down? Has he put that one down to tempt me? Does he want me to take that high value one, or is he hiding something? And at that point, the opponent's thinking that, I'm actually looking at my hand going, Yep, don't take the free, I've got one scored there, I know I'm going to win it if you leave me the free. There's a lot of elements from other games in small doses. The I pick you choose, a little bit of bluffing, a little bit of push your luck, a little bit of hand management, and all just from 4 little action tiles. All of that can cause people to not brain burning, but they will stop and think, because they'll think, oh, this looks pretty straightforward, and a few handed cards, yeah, this will be good. And as soon as they start thinking that, they're there on the table, hand on their head, sort of going, I don't know what to do. And as soon as you get someone to that step in a small micro game, you got them hooked, because this is one of those straightforward to teach, straightforward to play, but with a lot of depth style games, and I love these when they turn up. It's a bit like Splendor and games like that, deceptively simple, where the rules are so simple, but you realise there's more to it than meets the eye. And a lot of these small micro games do the same sort of thing. You know, some of them are just random luck fests, and there's a small element of luck in this, but whew, this one does have a decent amount of depth in it. Now, in terms of any flaws, there aren't that many flaws I can think of with this. Granted, you don't get any special powers, you don't get any character abilities, the item cards are all the same, it's just which geisha they're for, you know, and you have only these 4 action tiles, there's no variability in that. So, repeated plays, maybe it will get a little bit samey over time, like if you just play it constantly and constantly and constantly, but to bring it out every now and again, maybe go through 2 or 3 plays, you know, 2 or 3 full-on plays for a winner, this will certainly do you well, and most of the time this will act as a filler in between other games. Like, you know, we're waiting for these 2 to turn up. Oh, well, fine. Shall I just bring out this one and we'll just run through a quick one of this? Here's how it works. Da, 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 da. Here's how it plays. Da, da, da. I win. Ah, they've arrived. Brilliant. It fills that void perfectly. I have to say, I'm very impressed. You know, I don't know what to make of a lot of these Japanese games when they come out, you know, the ones that come from that area. There have been some great gems, though. There was a big example. I wonder if I can reach it. No, it's behind my chair. But you remember Coffee Roaster that I've talked about in my top 100? Another example of an Asian-made game, Asian-published game, that I will never have seen normally. And then I came across it at Essen. I loved it. It is in my collection. It was in the top 40, I think, of my top 100, and I love teaching it to playable, and I love playing it. This is another example. Japanese, you know, Asian publisher, Emperor S4, they have quite a few decent titles to their name, and it's just an elegant, beautiful, you know, tactical card game. It just works. I can't really say anything bad about it, other than, you know, there's only so much variety in the cards you've got, and that's me struggling to think of a flaw. I mean, that is me nitpicking. So, you know, maybe, I mean, the price point is maybe a little high for what you get, but then that's because, you know, a lot of these games that come over from that end of this globe, you know, do sometimes have a bit of a, you know, extra price attached. But you'll get your money's worth out of playing this, I guarantee it. It certainly has no problems with component quality, has certainly no problems with the artwork. It's just a quality 2-player game that any age could play. Play this with your kids, play this with your spouse, play this with your mum, you know, play this with anybody. It's a decent game. Certainly, well, it's more than a decent game. It's a great game, and this is sitting nicely in my collection and will stay there for a good long while. I know I don't get 2-player games to the table much, but this one, I'm going to try and keep in the bag as much as possible because if I can, I like to play it. Sam Healy's right. This is a great 2-player game. Okay? So, for me, I would give this, I'd struggle to tell whether I would give this a 9 or possibly a full 10. I possibly could give it a 10. It is just that good a design. Maybe it could use a bit more variation, so we're talking 9 or 10, I can't really decide. But, as you can tell from my format lately, I'm not trying to, you know, give ratings out of 10 anymore and make that the consensus for everybody. I want people to make up their own minds. So, if you want a quick 2-player micro game with beautiful artwork and good tactical decisions that make you think, this is the perfect one to check out. Hanamikoji. Do love the theme, but yeah, could we have come up with an easier name? Or perhaps I just suck at pronunciation Japanese names, I don't know. But great little game. So, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review. And remember, no matter how hard it is to pronounce this name, it's still only a game. See you next time. Take care.